Hey friends, thanks so much for joining me. I want to welcome you to my home. This was the studio that we got to raise our kids in. So pour yourself something warm and settle in, and let's just spend a few minutes together today as we talk about the rhythm of apprenticing, drawing from homegrown disciples, but going a little further than the book takes us. Let's just start out with a little warm up. Smile if you actually had a child before you ever read a parenting book. Smile if you've since gone back to your parents with a sincere apology or maybe a thank you. Yeah, me too. You know what I often hear from Christians, especially parents? It's this idea that, I just feel stuck. Stuck in routines, stuck in pattern, stuck spiritually. And we tend to assume stuck means that something's wrong. Like we failed, like everyone else has it figured out. But unless you're genuinely in a dangerous pattern, feeling stuck usually doesn't mean that something's broken. It means that you're alive and every living thing grows. What feels like stuck is often a growing pain. The struggle is real, but so is the fruit. And God is the gardener, tilling the soil of our hearts and our homes. And we're showing up day after day in the most un-Instagrammable moments of parenting. And what if in the next few minutes, we could reframe our ordinary and maybe even our unfortunate moments and start to see what God is forming in us through them. If that's all we take away from today, that'll feel like a win. Now, quick definition and then a quick story. When I talk about apprenticing, it isn't so much teaching our kids what to believe or how to behave. It's letting our influence and our proximity shape what they desire, who they're becoming, not just what they're doing. And the surprise is, while we're doing that with them, God is actually doing that with us. Now, when I was in 5th grade, I had a teacher I had decided that had acted unjustly. And I won't bore you with all the particulars, except to say I was extremely confident in my position. So knowing what had unfolded in the schoolyard, I explained the situation to her and let her know where she got it wrong. Now, playing the role of the prophet never earns you friends, much less favor. And I got sent to the principal's office. The principal listened, he called the teacher in, she explained her side, and then I was asked to apologize if I wanted to return to the classroom. I wouldn't. I sat there with my arms folded and my 10-year-old jaw was set. Now, with the school day winding down, the office finally called my mom on the phone, and I remember us going back and forth and her pleading, not angry, but just steady. And then she said one sentence, "David, we're Christians. We forgive. That's what we do. It's not about who's right." That was it. No lecture. Finally, as the bell rang, I found my teacher in the schoolyard, said I was sorry. I did not think in that moment that I was being discipled. I thought I was losing. But years later, I can still hear that sentence. We're Christians. We forgive. That's what we do. It wired something into me about identity, about who we are, that no Sunday school class could ever quite teach. This is the one quiet truth about this rhythm. Most of us picked up our faith the same way, not from a curriculum, but from sentences our parents said in a car ride, or at the dinner table, or across breakfast, from who they were when they didn't know we were watching. From small identity-claiming moments that didn't necessarily feel like teaching at the time, which means, and this is where I'd like us to lean in, we're not starting from scratch. God has been apprenticing you for a long time. You may not have called it that. You may have called it your messy childhood, your awkward adolescence. But God has been shaping you all along. And the rhythm of apprenticing your kids is mostly about giving away what you already have. Now, I want to introduce an idea that might feel a little challenging, but if God's been apprenticing us, how do we actually live that out? And there's a shift. What if our job isn't to plan everything perfectly or to get it right, but to trust that God's been preparing us all along. Jesus, as far as I can tell, was never a planner, but he was always prepared. Delivering spirits, feeding the masses, it was never on his calendar. And yet he was always ready for it, or never seemed stressed about it. Now, we all have preferred outcomes that we want for our kids, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the issue isn't wanting good things, it's how we react when things don't go as planned. And this is where the Shema prayer becomes really freeing. The Shema, remember? The love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and all your strength. This is the prayer that Jewish parents have taught their kids for centuries, usually as their first words. It's the prayer that Jesus quoted when he was asked, what's the greatest commandment? It's not a checklist, but a daily reorientation, recounting all the ways that God has sustained and provided for us. And right after the great commandment, Moses says this, impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, and when you lie down and when you get up. When you sit, when you walk, when you lie down, when you rise. Dinner time, drive time, bedtime, morning time. 4 daily, ordinary, completely unglamorous moments. They're not 4 more things to do in our list. They're 4 moments you're already living in. And inside each one is a small practice. At dinners, that's like a standing appointment with each other. On the drive, maybe apologizing or recounting something, debriefing their day. At bedtime, we're like a sacred liturgy with a blessing. Or morning time, like a commissioning, reminding them of who they are. See, the best thing we have going for us is not a seminary degree. It's not pretending to be someone we're not. It's influence and proximity. The question is whether we'll stay awake for those 4 windows when they open. Now, there's a particular trap that I also want to name. Our default as parents is, I'm the authority, I know more, or I need to get this right. And we project competence and minimize our weaknesses. I call this CEO parenting. It works pretty well until our kid develops their own voice and opinions about our decisions. We have a name for this stage. We call it adolescence. And what CEO parenting can't ever survive is honesty. The moment our kid sees the gap between who we say we are and who we actually are, and the whole relational and spiritual structure starts to wobble. Not long ago, I was sitting in a small group, 12 men, all dads. At the end, one of them says, guys, I have 4 boys under 10. I need God to help me be more patient. Well, it's not a bad request. But for his sake and the boys' sake, what I thought was, don't make patience your strength. Make vulnerability your strength. If God's strength is going to be made perfect in our weakness, then the most apprenticing thing that we can do is let our kids see how we confess desire, how we own our shortcomings, how we apologize. When parents try to make their attitude or their performance their strength, our kids never get to experience grace and real humility. I left that meeting thinking, that wasn't a patience problem. That was a grace problem. As we're able to, quote, save our best for family, not our leftovers, not the exhausted version of ourselves, everyone outside our home benefits from it because home is where desire gets shaped. That's the difference between a chain of command and a chain of care. Now, in the book, I talk about building a spiritual thesaurus around the names of God that has been revealed in scriptures, because the name that God who sees me, the Lord who provides, the one who saves and delivers. These names didn't just drop out of the sky as theology. They emerged from people in the wilderness moments, from family moments, the I don't know what to do next moments, where God showed up and revealed an aspect of his unchanging character. The names of God are relational encounters that we've had. So here's the question for this rhythm. Forget the kids for a moment. Look back at your own apprenticeship, where God has been patient with you, where God has been your healer, your comforter, the unexpected provider. maybe even the parent you didn't have. As you think about apprenticing your kids, draw from the ways God has been apprenticing, forming, and faithfully present with you. I promise, connecting the dots of those episodes will strengthen your faith. Now, apprenticing isn't some credential because we arrived. It's not something we have or to qualify for or arrive at. It's a posture of paying attention, of telling on ourselves, of remembering we've been on the receiving end of grace in 1,000 small ways, most of which we didn't even notice at the time. See, we don't need a better curriculum. We need a longer memory. Now this week, try to notice your 4 windows. Sit, walk, lie down, rise, and notice that the one who is apprenticing your kids is the same one who's apprenticing you, often through them. Thanks for being here, friends. Keep paying attention this week, and don't forget, God has a middle name. He's with you. I'll see you in the next one.